Throughout the history of our known universe, any planet with snakes has used them as a symbol of evil and temptation. Creatures to be feared. Maybe not everyone's interpretation of the serpent is the same, but it is often the case that they are depicted this way. Therefore, it comes as a surprise to the Ruman people that the entity that created our planet chose a snake to represent one of our goddesses. Despite the snake form she was birthed into this world with, Echidna was not feared by the Rumans, nor did they consider her evil. Instead, she took on a mother-like presence the Rumans grew to adore. Many Rumans consider Nemea, the lion goddess, the mother of Ruma, since she was the first deity born on our planet. She also created the Rumans, so it's hard to argue the motherly aspect of her existence. She is the only one to hear the voice of our Creator as well, who whispered only the name of our planet to her before never being heard again. Nemea would then know more than most that the Rumans are a stubborn people with their own thoughts, ideas, and ambitions. Literal gods and goddesses live among us, trying to help guide us, and us Rumans seem intent on spitting in their faces. Nemea did the most to set up Ruma for success and gave us life. So how did the Rumans repay her? By gravitating to her goddess sister, Echidna, for answers and direction. It is often said that Nemea gave us life, but Echidna gave us personality. Nemea and the other gods made the clay, but Echidna is the one that molded it. It was ultimately her decision to give the southern Rumans magic and the northern Rumans technology, and despite how much the northern Rumans hated that decision, they still did not blame Echidna for it. That just goes to show how much the people loved her. You have to then wonder how the Rumans on the main continent of Skyla, and Echidna herself, grew so far apart. Once Sybil was anointed cyborg godhood, and began putting plans in motion to basically kick the gods and goddesses off of Skyla, Echidna was the first to go. Not because Sybil found some way to remove everyone's favorite goddess out of the equation quicker, but because that title of everyone's favorite goddess suddenly felt extremely hollow. The Rumans didn't take a stand against Sybil to keep the gods and goddesses on Skyla, and the southern Rumans were in too much of a panic to pay her any mind. On top of that, Sero, the crocodile god, had taken full responsibility for helping the southern Rumans find their way. Yes, Echidna was there to supervise and could have done more to stop the process or suggest a better solution, but it was mainly Nemea and the other gods who created this civil problem, not her. Echidna was ready to be that motherly figure the Rumans originally wanted, but it became more and more obvious that they no longer wanted anything to do with her. This led to a lot of time spent wondering what to do next. She was a goddess on this planet, but still couldn't find her place on it. She thought long and hard about her favorite moments since Ruma came into existence, since she was made by the Creator. Ironically, thinking about the Creator gave her the answer. Creation has been her favorite part of this process, her favorite part of being a goddess, creating civilizations and influencing them for the better. The main continent was now ruined and soiled by her brothers and sisters' misguided intentions to create a better world. Yet there was so much more world left to explore and create. They had just started to put paint on the canvas when they made the continent of Skyla, but there was so much more space to be used. That is why Echidna was the first to leave the main continent, to go create that which would become known as the Outer Lands. Echidna left Skyla behind and traversed the Ruman seas, swimming above the Mori people, an underwater civilization created by the imp god Tero, and found herself on a new land that must have been made by the Creator when Ruma came into existence. She slithered her way across this new continent, and as she maneuvered her way across it, a new world emerged around her. Trees, water, and wildlife began to sprout miraculously out of the ground, and this new kingdom on Ruma had arrived. Since this new land was Echidna's first creation fully separated from her brothers and sisters, she decided to truly make this part of the continent her own. She set up a large city known as Vipera, gave herself a large home within, and created a new race of people known as the Scale Skin. Though mostly Rumen in design, these new people shared qualities of Echidna's snake-like appearance. Other than the obvious scale skin from their namesake, these Rumens also had forked tongues and regenerative properties. These new, stronger, more advanced versions of the Rumens she was familiar with may have been Echidna's way of subconsciously creating a race of Rumens that could one day stand against Sybil. After giving the scale-skinned Rumens everything they needed to start this new civilization in Vipera, Echidna immediately went to work on her next project. She left Vipera and ventured across this new land once more, creating numerous unique areas from coast to coast. Among them were lands of different elements, including a frosty snow tundra, a red-hot desert, and a tropical paradise mostly built on islands. While her intention was to build another new civilization on the opposite side of Vipera, she found herself instead making a new one as a neighboring civilization to Vipera. This one was designed with her sister Nemea in mind, as if the creator herself told her that she may be arriving soon. This newly formed city and civilization neighboring Vipera would be given the name Tana. Though Echidna did not feel like she could create the Rumens there, she would leave that up to her sister. Instead, the Scaleskin helped her build the landscape for it as tribute to the lion goddess upon her arrival. The celestial guidance Echidna felt was well warranted as Nemea arrived on the continent shortly after. Nemea had felt extremely responsible for Sybil, but much like the other gods and goddesses, the Rumens had turned their back on her. Skyla no longer felt the same as it once did when they created it. Nemea could feel something pulling her to this new land that Echidna had created, and was pleasantly surprised to find that Echidna had built entire areas of the continent with Nemea in mind. This made it easy for the lion goddess to settle into this new home, but Nemea was not interested in creation and expansion nearly as much as her sister, so she let Echidna continue to hold the reins of this new world. Instead, Nemea simply supported her sister's plans and ideas, providing very little insight if Echidna requested it. Talk of Skyla and Sybil specifically was kept to a minimum, and the two goddesses chose to just enjoy their new land on the outskirts of the mess that was happening on the main continent. However, somewhere deep in the back of both of their minds, they knew that one day Sybil would find this new continent too, and they would need these new civilizations to be prepared to fight her.